Welcome to your third tutorial of the Ubuntu Linux guide. On my way home from work, I found this article on basically going over the different flavors or distributions or variants of Ubuntu Linux. Now, the version of Ubuntu that I'm using, or that you're going to be, or basically the one that I'm teaching you right now, is the core distribution, or the core version. This version is used for stability and doesn't have all the bells and whistles. But there are different variants, and this article basically goes over what those variants are and what scenarios would be good to use them. So I thought I'd share this with you. So although the fact that this guide is going over primarily Ubuntu Linux, I just wanted to open up the different possibilities for you, so you understand what the various versions are and what they do. So I'm going to read this article for you, and this is from Forbes. Linux for Beginners: Understanding the Many Versions of Ubuntu, written by Jason Evelyn Gallio. Okay. Excuse the ads. Many of you have been considering. Maybe you've been considering ditching Windows for Linux. Microsoft has plenty of reasons lately, or perhaps you just want to dip your toes into the world of fast, secure, and open source operating systems to see what all the excitement is about. Either way, it's a good bet that Ubuntu has flown across your radar as you search the myriad distributions out there. It's one of the most popular Linux operating systems in the world due to its ease of use, pleasing interface, and stability. It's the perfect gateway into Linux because of how user-friendly it is. But did you know that there are 7 different flavors of Ubuntu? So, as you already know, this insignia right here is the insignia for the core version of Ubuntu. And these go over, these are for the other versions. So let's continue on. That sets up excuse me. That sets up a potentially daunting decision if you're going in blind. Though I enjoy that approach. But choice should be viewed as a positive element in the Linux world. So my goal here is to distill each one down to its essence. I'll briefly explain the kind of user each Ubuntu version is designed for, what differentiates them, and what can you expect from each distribution's desktop environment. Basically, its look and feel. It's not an exhaustive deep dive on each one. Hopefully, just enough to get you pointed adventurously in the right direction. And remember, you can try each one for yourself by downloading the OS and creating a live USB. It's an easy process, and then you can test drive it right off the USB stick without making any changes to your PC. So the first one is Ubuntu, which is the version of Linux which I'm teaching you right now. Who is it for? Users who aren't worried about infinite customization or tweaks, but still want an attractive and intuitive desktop. Users who prefer stability over bleeding-edge software. So the desktop environment that it uses is GOM 3, and the website to download this Linux distribution is ubuntu.com. Think of Ubuntu as the foundation all its other variants are built upon. It's kind of like the parent figure, and it tends to directly influence each of the other variants below. That means users of other flavors like Kubuntu and Ubuntu Mate, for example, all have access to the same pool of software and get this same hardware support, OS updates, and security updates. Developers can pool their resources and efforts to the benefit of all other flavors. As you learned in the introduction to Linux desktop environments, the biggest distinction comes down to its look and feel. That's often driven by the hardware requirements of each flavor. So we're talking about how Windows behave, what the file browser looks like, how you access your day-to-day apps and activities, and what the overall appearance is. Ubuntu uses the GNOME desktop environment, which in my experience gives you easy navigation of all facets of the operating system. It's simple to use and is designed to keep open windows out of your way until you need them. While it's simple, excuse me. While it's simple, it's not necessarily familiar if you're coming from Windows. In fact, it resembles more of a tablet interface than a traditional desktop OS interface. For better or for worse, tastes vary wildly, of course. GNOME doesn't offer deep customization and tweakability like its main rival KDE Plasma. Another neat aspect of GNOME is that it includes built-in integration with services like Google, Facebook, Nextcloud, and even Microsoft. I was delighted to discover that without installing anything extra, I can simply sign into my Google Drive account and schedule regular backups. GNOME also provides just about every piece of software the average user would need on a daily basis, as Ubuntu focuses on an install it and get to work mentality. Firefox, an Office suite in the form of LibreOffice, Thunderbird for mail, Shotwell for photo editing, Audacity for audio editing, and the list goes on. The list of default apps isn't bloated by any means, and it doesn't feel lacking either. I generally recommend Ubuntu as your jumping off point, but everyone has different needs and tastes. Read on to learn about the many other Ubuntu flavors. So the next one here, and this is new to me, is Ubuntu Bungee, and looks very fancy. So who is it for? Users who want to class up the joint. Seriously though, Bungee is beautiful. Period. It's also adaptable to a wide range of hardware. So, a desktop environment. This is the Bungee desktop, and the official website to get Ubuntu Bungee is ubuntubungee.org. Despite being one of the newer kids on the block, Ubuntu Bungee makes a stunning first impression, from its default wallpaper to the sense of smartly maximize desktop real estate. It maintains the GNOME tenets of elegance and simplicity, but adds a more modern feeling to the formula. And like Ubuntu, is extremely friendly to newcomers. Unlike GNOME on Ubuntu, Bungee also includes a couple of different default themes and easy access to several to custom the look and feel. Bungee also includes a nightlight feature to reduce strain on your eyes. Something else I just want to add, on this version of Ubuntu that I'm using, I downloaded an application called, what's it called? Let me open this up. Okay, terrible example. Okay, it's basically called Flux, and basically its job is basically to reduce eye strain. But I had to install it separately. But unlike on Ubuntu, here on Bungee, you get it installed as part of the OS. Let me just get that back. Alright, so continuing on. One of Bungie's distinguishing characteristics is its use of lightweight applets, mini apps for your panel that extend your desktop's features and functionalities. Check them out in the Bungee welcome screen and read more about Bungee features in the latest release notes. So next is Ubuntu. Who is it for? Users with semi-modern computers who want a slick, highly customizable desktop that resembles the familiar Start menu, a system tray setup for Windows. Desktop environment, KDE Plasma. And the official website is kubuntu.org. So, something that I just learned along with you guys is always considered this symbol right here to be the start menu, but apparently this desktop is more in line with a tablet. Anyway, continuing on with Ubuntu. Do you like the basic start menu, taskbar, system tray interface that Windows has, but you wish to customize the heck out of it? Change entire desktop themes on the fly and endlessly tweak things? Then Ubuntu's KDE Plasma desktop environment is for you. You can effectively personalize every pixel of your workspace. Also, KDE's Dolphin File Explorer is one of the versatile out there, and the entire environment has a lot of slick animations and visual effects to enjoy. KDE also gets an enthusiastic nod for the way it handles notifications of all kinds, as well as built-in KDE Connect for managing your Android phone. Oh, that is very nifty. Anyway, continuing on, think of KDE as the yin of GNOME's yang. While I personally prefer GNOME for its simplicity, KDE holds massive appeal if you want to spend a lot of time making the OS your own from a visual standpoint. So basically, from what I've read, is Ubuntu is the Windows variant of Linux, basically, and you can customize it. So Ubuntu, basically, what I'm using right now and what you're using, is basically install and get to work. But Ubuntu, you can do more with it. Anyway, moving on. Ubuntu. Who is it for? Users who want to resurrect outdated laptops or desktops, install a fully functional desktop OS on a single board computer, or who want a fast, lightweight operating system. LXDA, the desktop environment is LXDA, a new version of LXQT, and the official website of Ubuntu is lubuntu.net. So now a little aside, years ago, I had a budget desktop computer, a Gateway 310S, and I've used that computer for over a decade. Now this computer had a Windows XP on it, and as you already know, Windows XP had extremely extended support. So when Microsoft ended its support of Windows XP back in April 2014, I was doing some research on what alternatives I can use on that machine. Now at the time I installed Ubuntu, but because, or more specifically Ubuntu 14.10. But the problem is that because the hardware is so old on the machine, the graphics capability of the OS couldn't be handled by the hardware. So I had to basically install a lighter version. Now, at the time, I installed Xubuntu, which I will go over in this article. But had I had Ubuntu, that would have been another alternative. So anyway, getting back, Ubuntu is a stripped-down Linux operating system with lightweight software. As such, it has very minimal hardware requirements. It can run Ubuntu on a Intel Pentium 2 or Celeron CPU with as little as 512 megabytes of memory. So you have a really old system, this is the OS you would go with. Though as a developer's note, most people will want a gig of memory for running everyday internet apps like Facebook or Google Docs. Still, those who are seriously lean requirements, Ubuntu flies where newer versions of Windows can't even get off the starting block. You'll still get a fully featured Office suite, Firefox, multiple workspaces, and customization options. The latest versions run The latest version runs the LXQT desktop environment, which is also available to use in other Linux distros. As a testament to its lightweight nature, I can say I've been running it successfully on my Pinebook, a $99 laptop with an AMR processor. Next is Ubuntu Mate. So, who is it for? Users who love Ubuntu but with PCs not powerful enough to run a composited desktop. You can run versions for Raspberry Pi, GPD Pocket, and PowerPC devices. And the desktop environment that this runs is Mate. And the official website is ubuntu-mate.org. Ubuntu Mate has an enthusiastic following, probably because the developers has such. Ubuntu Mate has an enthusiastic following, probably because the developers have such a sharp focus on what they want to accomplish with this distro. Read this page for those objectives. Like Ubuntu, it boasts lower hardware requirements, a minimum of a Pentium 1 gigahertz processor and 1 gigahertz of RAM. Wow. Yeah, that is definitely wow. Basically, you can run this on a PC that's over 15 years old if you wanted to. The software selection and general artwork and themes closely follow Ubuntu proper, only deviating if compatibility issues might arise from lower-end hardware. Visually, it may remind you of better elements of Windows 7 and Windows 10. Unfortunately, I don't have much personal experience with Mate, but it seems to be a solid middle ground between more resource-intensive distros like Ubuntu or Kubuntu, while offering more visual appeal than Ubuntu and Kubuntu for those with lower-end hardware. Okay, so this is something that I should consider because I've never heard of Mate. So you have your higher end or standard, and then you have your ones for lower end. Because in the past I've used Xubuntu for a lower end machine. Anyway, continuing on. I welcome corrections on this, but I've had tricky timing. Sorry, I welcome corrections on this, but I've had a tricky time pinning down specifically what Mate's use cases would be or its intended audience. I'm not knocking it though, as it certainly has a devoted audience for strong reasons. Ubuntu Studio. Who is it for? Creative professionals looking for a distro that bundles in a wealth of open source, audio editing, desktop publishing, video production, and graphic design software. Ubuntu Studio aims to cover your entire workflow. Desktop environment is xfce with a KDE Plasma as an alternative. And the website to officially download this distro is ubuntustudio.org. Recently I wrote an article about Lorenzo's Music, an indie band who recorded their new album entirely using Ubuntu Studio. Well, not just recorded, mixed and mastered, created music videos on it, blogged from it. Literally the entire pipeline from conception to publication. It was inspiring. And that inspiration is what drives the Ubuntu Studio developers. They've crafted a Linux distro that packs in a ridiculous amount of slick multimedia driven open source software for a wide range of creative people. Whatever you want to write and publish an ebook, edit a full-length film, polish up your photos, or create music, all the tools are there, and they're all completely free. If you want a package example of how powerful open source software can be for many different creative workflows, this is your first stop. And finally, we have Xubuntu. Now, like I said before, I've used Xubuntu before. If you have a older hardware or an older laptop or desktop, and you want a PC that has all the applications that you need, so word processor, web browser, just the basic stuff, but you don't need the bells and whistles. This is the distro that you want to go with. So continuing on, Xubuntu. Who is it for? Users who want a complete desktop experience optimized for usability and everyday tasks, with sharp looks and responsiveness regardless of your hardware's age. The desktop environment is xfce and the official website is xubuntu.org. Like all Ubuntu flavors, Xubuntu offers exceptional hardware support regardless of your PC's age. And like Ubuntu, it aims to provide fully functional desktop environment for everyday users with a selection of curated, lightweight software designed to run at blazing speeds on modern computers while still running smoothly on older hardware. Besides aiming to strike a perfect balance between usability and maximizing system performance, the lightweight here is the xfce desktop environment. Given how few system resources it uses, xfce looks sharp on almost any display. It's minimalistic but attractive and incredibly responsive. And those are just the officially recognized flavors of Ubuntu. There are more than a dozen others, but if you're new to Linux and want a strong foundation to start exploring, backed by a large and helpful community, start with any of the above. So there you have it. So those are the main flavors, or the most popular flavors of Ubuntu Linux. Now, although this guide is going to be focusing on primarily Ubuntu, I just wanted to keep in mind with you of these various flavors for you. So until then, I'll see you on the next lesson. Take care.